22 American soldiers were dead before they even reached Iraq. In 1991, I worked as an Army ammunition inspector at the Riverbank Army Ammunition Plant located in Riverbank, California. For months, I tried to warn the Pentagon that defective ammunition was being manufactured and shipped out of that facility. Every single attempt failed, so I moved on to the Senate and to almost every member of Congress. Once again, my allegations were ignored, and the end result was that 22 American soldiers were killed using this defective munitions. After numerous death threats against my family and I, and a grenade being tossed against our house and one through the window, my family and I moved from California. Here is the audio of the NBC television show which aired in February of 1991. It was called Exposé with Tom Brokaw.
There are thousands of defective shells that come out of this thing. American mortar shells. Can they kill American soldiers?
He was a good Marine, and it was just a bad shot.
And the perils of vacation cruises are a lot more than seasickness.
He just proceeded to take my clothes off and rape me.
NBC News presents Exposé with Tom Brokaw. Good evening. Tonight on Exposé, a story as current as today's headlines out of the Persian Gulf. The United States wants its troops equipped with the latest and the best. But some American military ordnance may be defective. And we'll meet some women who went on those fun-filled cruise ships in the sun. They tell Exposé of vacations that changed their lives forever. After all the money this country has spent on defense in the last 10 years, American military forces and the folks back home can expect only the best. After all, no one wants the defense of this country and the lives of American troops compromised by defective equipment. Just the other night, President Bush said in his State of the Union speech, "We have given our men and women the very best. They deserve it." But tonight, as Operation Desert Storm is poised for the bloodiest part of this conflict, the ground war, serious questions about crucial U.S. equipment raised in this report by Exposé's chief correspondent, Brian Ross. On a windswept, grassy hillside in New Mexico, a military cemetery. Thousands of American soldiers, sailors, and Marines are buried here. And among the names on the flat granite headstones is Victor Salazar, a Marine, private first class, killed by a mortar shell, not in battle, but in training camp when a defective shell blew up in his face. PFC Salazar was 19, a Marine just 5 months when the defective shell killed him. His mother, Evelyn Salazar, says Victor, her only son, wanted to make the Marine Corps his life.
I still miss him very much, and I wouldn't wish this on anyone.
Victor Salazar was at Camp Lejeune in North Carolina, part of a squad learning to fire mortar shells. On May 15th, 1986, here on firing range G5, with the young Marines using live ammunition in their mortar tubes for the first time, the defective shell, made by a company that had supplied bad shells before, blew up.
The force of the blast.
Robert Mitchell was one of the Marines with Victor Salazar that day, just a few feet away, himself badly wounded.
I look up, I see a fireball coming at me, I'm trying to get out of the way.
Experts later said this is what happened. The Marines put the defective shell down the mortar tube and fired, but almost immediately the defective shell blew up, killing Salazar, another Marine, Stephen Hunt, and leaving Mitchell wounded for life and angry at the company that shipped the Marines the bad shell.
I would like to have killed anybody that had anything to do with it.
This is where the defective shell came from, the Riverbank Ammunition Plant in Riverbank, California, operated under a contract from the U.S. Army by Norris Industries. The shell that blew up in Camp Lejeune, an 81-millimeter mortar shell like these, was made here in the 1970s. But an investigation by Exposé has uncovered serious allegations about shells and grenades produced here much more recently that may now be in the hands of American troops.
They will explode prematurely. There would reject, the Army would accept.
We were seeing what we call metal tears, and they would pass it.
And now with American troops in the first days of a ground war with Iraq, many relying on the 81mm mortar, current and former workers at the Riverbank plant say they fear what happened to the Marines in Camp Lejeune may happen again.
We have been found to be squeaky clean and without fault.
The president of Norris Industries, Robert Toring, says he's not worried about his company's shells.
I can say that we have always produced quality product. The product we ship is quality product.
There are thousands of defective shells that went out of this plant.
But former Norris employee Roger Kaiser, who worked on assembly lines making mortar shells and grenades, says top management may not know all that's going on inside the plant. And Kaiser and each of 9 other workers we talked with gave specific examples of trouble on the production line. Do you personally know that crack grenades were being sent out?
Absolutely, because I stood there, I saw them being packaged day after day after day for almost a year.
How many are we talking about?
I would say there were thousands.
And Kaiser says on the 81mm line, there was a time the plant was under such pressure to speed up that he went along and skipped a critical safety test.
They knew they were behind schedule. They knew that I would pass hundreds and hundreds of 81mm mortars without them being tested. And they knew that I knew how to do that.
Did you do that?
Absolutely.
Did others?
Yes.
I was pulling the bad parts off the line, and I was putting them in boxes.
Harlan Jansen, who worked at Riverbank as a line inspector, says he was pulling bad shell casings off the line, and the company had someone putting them right back on.
He'd come with a forklift, and he'd take them away. Well, what he was doing is he'd just take them right around the machine and rehang them again. Rehang the rejected parts, the bad parts that I was just a few minutes before that pulled off.
It didn't matter about anything else as long as you get that quota.
And this woman, who did not want her identity known, says she now worries that shells she inspected may be part of the American arsenal in Saudi Arabia.
I have a relation over there, and I worry about them because I don't want them using the products that we manufacture because I'm afraid it's going to blow up in their face.
Norris Industries runs Riverbank, but the Army has full-time inspectors at the plant who are supposed to make sure everything is done according to Army specifications. The Army's chief inspector, Jim Gansel, says despite the allegations of workers, the Army hasn't been able to find anything seriously wrong at Riverbank.
No, I cannot tell you that I am aware of anything that has ever been a problem.
Here's the deficiency. It was the M42 grenade, the same one. Even when we showed Gansel a letter he wrote 2 years ago, threatening to shut the plant down because of serious deficiencies, Gansel still said Riverbank had a fine record.
Out of 47 million, 4 grenades were allowed to leave this plant that did not meet all the requirements of the system.
And incredibly, Gansel, the Army's main man here, said he did not know until expose told him that 2 Marines were killed by a defective shell from his plant, and that a federal jury ordered Norris to pay almost $2 million in damages to the Marines' families. You're telling me you never
I have not been notified of it, no.
You've never been told about this lawsuit?
No.
You've never been told that Marines were killed because of Norris-made shells?
No.
That is news to you today as we sit here?
Absolute news to me, yes.
Do you think that it should be expose informing you of this kind of problem?
Should it be expose informing me? I certainly would like to know that there is a problem with an 81 millimeter, if in fact there is.
Former workers say some Army inspectors who worked for Gansel knew defective shells were being shipped out. Roger Kaiser says he turned over to the Army this tape recording of a phone call he secretly recorded 2 years ago with one of the Army inspectors about a shipment of bad grenades.
Well, I don't know if the Army ever found out about it.
Oh, no. What would they do about it anyway?
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to do anything. They're going to help them cover it up and let it go.
Yeah.
You know, it's fraud is what it is. There isn't anything they wouldn't do to get that junk passed and out the gate.
The Army has just awarded Norris Industries a new contract to make smoke grenades here for Desert Storm, meaning more jobs and more overtime.
We don't ship out bad parts.
Well, we make some good product. I don't
asking questions, trying to drown us out and get us out of there.
Trying to cause trouble. Shut the damn thing off!
Roger Kaiser says he knows there are a lot of people who don't want to hear what's being said about this plant.
Right is right and wrong is wrong. I think that I really don't need to worry about my feelings or their feelings. I would rather let there be a few hard feelings there than to see some of these boys have their faces blown off. As a result of Brian Ross's investigation, Senator Charles Grassley of Iowa, one of the key senators overseeing Pentagon contracts, told Expose that he wants the Army to reopen its investigation of Riverbank, and he called for an urgent search to discover if any defective grenades or shells have been shipped to American troops in the Gulf.
Well, that's been almost 15 years now, and about a month ago I received numerous letters from some of the people who used to work there. My colleagues who lied and, in order to save their jobs, said that everything that I said was a lie and that none of it was happening. They apologized for me losing my home and my job and everything that we had worked for. And they also apologized for all the soldiers who died. But a lot of good that does.